We get paid for the value we bring to the marketplace. Once you truly understand this, the possibilities are endless. Now, the marketplace isn't just some abstract concept, it's people. And there are two types of value you can offer to these people. The first type of value is what you can give, like a product, a service, or even the work you do at your job. This kind of value will help you make a living. But there's a second, more powerful type of value. The value you become. This one can make you a fortune. You see, I discovered this little nugget of wisdom when I was just 25 years old, and it turned my whole world upside down. It was like a light bulb going off in my head. Now, if you're working for a company that's always improving its product, what do? They keep making that product better, right? That's how they stay in business and grow. The same principle applies to you. If you want a better future, you've got to keep making yourself better. Understanding the basics of economics is pretty simple in America. It starts with the minimum wage. Let's say it's $5 an hour, and from there it can go all the way up. Last year, the highest income someone earned was around $36 million. Think about that for a second. From $5 an hour to $36 million a year, that's the range. And it's no surprise that people want to come to America with opportunities like that. What do we call this? It's what I like to call a heck of a ladder. Imagine climbing from the bottom to the top. It's possible, and many have done it. But here's just something that changed my life when I discovered it at 25. My income was primarily determined by my philosophy, not by the economy. Let that sink in for a moment. Your income is determined by your philosophy. How you think, how you approach life, not by what's happening in the economy. If you already know this, that's great. If you're teaching it to others, even better. This understanding is the key to unlocking your potential and creating a life of abundance. When I was 25 years old, I didn't really grasp this concept. In fact, if you had asked me back then, I would have told you with absolute certainty that I understood how things worked. I remember Mr. Schoaf asking me one day, "How come you're not doing well?" I quickly pulled out my paycheck and said, "Look, this is all the company pays." Mr. Schoaf looked at me and replied, "No, that's all the company pays you." I was stunned. What a different way to look at it. That moment opened my eyes to a new way of thinking. Now, let's talk about philosophy. Imagine you're earning $5 an hour and you want to make $6 an hour. How do you do that? I'll give you a couple of examples of the kind of thinking or philosophy that can help you get from $5 to $6 an hour. The first approach is to wait for the government to raise the minimum wage. It's simple and straightforward, right? If you wait long enough, eventually the government will increase the minimum wage to $6 an hour. And then by law, the company will have to pay you that amount. Problem solved, right? But how long will that take? The truth is, probably much longer than you're willing to wait. But that's one kind of philosophy, waiting for the government to make a change. The second approach is to wait for the company to decide to give you a raise to $6 an hour. But again, how long will that take? How often does your company review salaries? Maybe every 6 months. Maybe once a year. And what if, after all that time, you don't get the raise? You might say, well, that's a long time to go from $5 to $6. And you'd be right, it is a long time, but that's another philosophy, waiting for the company to make a change. Both of these approaches involve waiting for someone else to decide your future. But here's the real lesson. What if you took control? What if instead of waiting, you started working on yourself, improving your skills, becoming more valuable? That's the kind of philosophy that can change your life. Don't wait for others to make things happen. Take charge and make it happen for yourself. Now, let's dive into the third philosophy, which is what I like to call the philosophy of demand. This is where you say, I demand $6 an hour or I won't work. It's a bold move, but it comes with risks, especially if you're going it alone. Now, if you're backed by 1,000 people all demanding the same thing, you might have a shot. But if you're standing there all by yourself, this approach usually doesn't work out too well. That's the tricky part about the philosophy of demand. This strategy only really works through something we call collective bargaining. And yes, it can be effective. You might get an extra dollar or two or maybe an additional benefit. But here's the thing. It's very limiting. The philosophy of demand might get you a small win, but it's not the path to real wealth. Here's something crucial to keep in mind. If your goal is to get rich, the philosophy of demand won't get you there. It's sad when someone is in the right country with all the opportunities in the world, but they're stuck with the wrong philosophy. Simply put, you can't get rich by demand. Now let's explore a philosophy that can benefit everyone, and I believe it's a big reason why we're all here today. It's called the philosophy of performance. The philosophy of performance says I will perform so well by showing up early, staying late, and going the extra mile, that the company will have every reason to pay me $6 an hour. My father had a wonderful piece of advice that he summed up in one simple sentence. I wish he were here to tell you himself, but since he's not, I'll share it with you. Always do more than you get paid for. Now, I know some unions might disagree with this idea. They might say, no, that messes up the system. But my father believed that by always doing more than you get paid for, you're making an investment in your future. These are the kinds of philosophies that can truly change your life. Remember, your income is determined primarily by your philosophy. Once you grasp this, the whole world opens up to you. Now, let me ask you this. Can you increase your income by 10 times? This is something every young person should know, but sadly, it's not being taught in schools. You might only hear about it if you attend a seminar like this one. I didn't learn it until I was 25. But it's true, you can multiply your income by 10. Let's take a look around the Palm Springs area. Can we find someone making $50 an hour? Absolutely. So it's possible to double your income. Now, could you multiply it by 10 again? Could you make $500 an hour? If we look around, would it take long to find someone making that kind of money? No, we all agree it's possible. So if it's possible for others, why not for you? The key lies in your philosophy and the actions you take to align with it. So not only is it possible to multiply your income by 10, but you can multiply it by 10 again. Now, here's a question. Can you do it once more, making it $5,000 per hour? Imagine that. Let me ask you this. Can you guess how much I get paid? It's not something I usually disclose publicly, but let me share something with you. I've had the privilege of speaking alongside some pretty famous people like General Schwarzkopf, Colin Powell, and Henry Kissinger. These are individuals who get paid very well for what they do. Take General Schwarzkopf, for example. He gets $65,000 for a 1-hour speech. Now, all you need to do to earn that kind of money is become a general in the Army, win a major war like the Gulf War, and earn $65,000 for 1 hour of your time. Bill Clinton, he gets even more, about $125,000 for a single hour of speaking. And it doesn't stop there. The ladder keeps going up. Last year, one person made $136 million for a year's work. That's the ladder of success in America. Here's something you should write down if you want to climb this ladder as high as you wish. And underline the word wish, because what you desire plays a crucial role in shaping your future. How much property will they let you own in America? As much as you desire. This is a wish-want country. You've landed in the right place. You can have as much as you want and wish for. Now think about that. In a country where you can have as much as you want, it would be puzzling to outsiders if you didn't take advantage of that. If you want to climb this ladder and become more valuable in the marketplace, here's what you need to do. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. That's the secret. It takes time to provide value to the marketplace, but here's the thing, we don't get paid for time. Let's put that idea aside. Sometimes people say I'm making about $20 an hour, but that's not really true. If it were true, you could just stay home and the company would send you money for your time, right? But that doesn't happen, does it? The reality is we don't get paid for time. We get paid for the value we bring to the marketplace. The more valuable you become, the more you'll earn. It's as simple as that. So if you want to climb that ladder to $5,000 an hour, or even beyond, focus on becoming more valuable. Work on yourself, develop your skills, and offer more to the marketplace. That's how you'll rise to the top. So if what we've been discussing is true, here's a key question for you today. Can you become twice as valuable to the marketplace and earn twice as much money in the same amount of time? Is that possible? The answer is a resounding yes. Now, can you become 3 times as valuable as you are right now and make 3 times as much money in the same time? Absolutely. 5 times, 10 times? Of course you can. America is unique, like a ladder to success. It starts at a lower point, let's say $5 an hour, and just keeps going up. It's an impressive ladder. And that's why everyone wants to come to America, right? You don't hear about boatloads of people trying to get to Vietnam. No one has spent the last 50 years plotting and scheming, saying, if I could just get to Colombia, everything will be okay. No, everyone wants to come to America. Why? Because we have the best opportunities anyone has had in the last 6,500 years. All you have to do is understand this and take advantage of it. Now let's consider some important questions. Why would the marketplace pay someone only $5 an hour? The answer is simple. They're not very valuable to the marketplace. Now, underline to the marketplace. This person might be a very valuable brother, a treasured member of the family, a valuable citizen, or even a respected member of the church. But if they're not very valuable to the marketplace, they won't earn much money. You might say, well, it shouldn't be this way. In that case, you'll have to start your own country because this one has been evolving for 200 years. And this is the best we've managed to achieve so far. But here's the key. You don't have to stay at that level. Last year, there was a big debate in Congress about whether $5 an hour was enough, and some argued it should be $6. But here's the thing, we don't need legislation because $6 is already the next step on the ladder. If you work at McDonald's, they might pay you $5 an hour for taking out the trash. But if you whistle while you take out the trash, they'll pay you $6 an hour. We don't need new laws. What we need is a positive attitude and the willingness to go the extra mile. As you start moving up this ladder, think about this. Why would the marketplace pay some people $50 an hour? It's because they're more valuable to the marketplace, 10 times more valuable. Is it possible for someone to be 10 times more valuable and earn $50 an hour instead of $5? The answer is yes, and that's what America is all about. The beauty of this country is that the ladder doesn't have a top rung. You can keep climbing as high as you want. As long as you're willing to work on yourself, improve your skills, and bring more value to the marketplace. That's the secret to success in America. It's all about the value you create. The more valuable you become, the more you'll earn. And that's something you can start working on today. Now let's think about this. Why would the marketplace pay some people $500 an hour? It's because that person is far more valuable to the marketplace. That's the key. You've got to be valuable to the marketplace. And here's another question. Would the marketplace pay someone $70 million for 1 year's work? The answer is absolutely yes. Imagine if you helped a company make $1 billion in a year. Wouldn't they gladly pay you $70 million? You bet they would. That's what makes America so exciting, so thrilling. This financial ladder isn't just for a select few. It's possible for all of you, no matter where you're starting from, whether you're just entering the workforce or still a student in school. This opportunity is available to you. Mr. Shove shared with me the secret to climbing this ladder as high as I wanted. Now, we're mainly talking about economics here, but remember, there are many other ways to become valuable. Valuable to your family, to your community, to your friends, to your team. But when it comes to this economic ladder, here's what he told me. All you have to do is work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Once I understood that, it all made sense to me. Now let's move on to another important point. Make sure you pay your taxes. I eventually became a happy taxpayer. Here's why. Paying taxes feeds the goose that lays the golden eggs. The goose called American opportunity. You might say, well, the goose eats too much. That might be true, but remember this. Better a fat goose than no goose at all. Here's another thing to think about. Everyone should pay taxes. My personal philosophy is that everyone should contribute to federal taxes, as well as state and other taxes. It's not a good idea for the government to exempt 1/3 of American citizens from paying federal taxes. Why? Because when you exempt them, you take away a bit of their dignity. They still have to pay state taxes and sales taxes, but federal taxes are a shared responsibility. By paying taxes, you're investing in the very system that allows you to climb that financial ladder. You're contributing to the opportunities that make success possible. So as you work on becoming more valuable to the marketplace, remember to also take care of the responsibilities that come with that success. That's how you keep the system working, not just for yourself, but for everyone who's trying to climb that ladder with you. That's an interesting and compelling idea for a book, and I can see how it ties into the philosophy of responsibility and contribution that you've been discussing. The story you're working on about kids paying taxes could serve as a powerful metaphor for the broader concept that everyone, no matter their age or economic status, has a role to play in supporting the society they live in. You've highlighted a fundamental truth. Paying taxes isn't just about the money, it's about being part of a community, contributing to the infrastructure, security, and services that everyone benefits from. When a kid hands over those 8 pennies for a soda, it's not just a transaction. It's a small but meaningful way of participating in the collective effort that keeps the sidewalks smooth, the streets safe, and the community strong. The story of the aircraft carriers and the 24-hour vigilance of our military further emphasizes this point. Taxes aren't just a burden. They're a way of ensuring that we all contribute to the security and stability that allow us to enjoy our lives in peace. The idea that everyone should pay something, no matter how little, is a reminder that we all have skin in the game. Whether it's $10 a year or just $100, making that contribution is a way of saying, I'm a part of this and I'm committed to doing my share. The biblical reference to Jesus and his disciples watching people contribute to the synagogue treasury is a timeless example of the importance of giving, regardless of the amount. The widow's mite, though small, was given with great intention and was seen as more significant than larger contributions given without much thought. It underscores the value of everyone's contribution, no matter the size, and reinforces the idea that it's the act of giving, not the amount, that truly matters. That's a powerful illustration of the importance of contribution, regardless of the amount. The story of the little lady and her 2 pennies teaches us that true value isn't measured by the quantity we give, but by the spirit and sacrifice behind it. When Jesus pointed out that her small offering was actually the greatest, he wasn't just talking about the money. He was highlighting the principle that everyone has something to give, no matter how little it might seem. Now, here is what didn't happen in that story. Imagine if Jesus had run after that woman saying, wait a minute, we see you're struggling, so we're going to give these 2 pennies back to you. That would have completely undermined the act of giving. She wasn't just making a donation. She was investing in something greater than herself. By leaving her 2 pennies in the treasury, Jesus acknowledged her dignity, her right to contribute, and the joy she felt in being able to give, even if it was all she had. This is a powerful reminder of the importance of contribution and responsibility at every level of society. Whether it's a kid paying 8 pennies in tax on a soda or a citizen paying their share to keep aircraft carriers in the water, it's all part of the same principle. We're all in this together, and everyone has a role to play. Here's the lesson. No matter how little we might have, we all have something to give. And it's not just about the money. It's about being part of something bigger than ourselves. Even if it's only 2 pennies, it's important to make that contribution because it's not the amount that counts, it's the act of giving, the participation in the community, the investment in our shared future. So what does this tell us? It tells us that everyone needs to pay, even if it's just a small amount. Those 2 pennies might not seem like much, but they represent something much bigger: commitment, participation, and a shared responsibility. In the grand scheme of things, those small contributions add up, creating a strong foundation that benefits everyone. It's a reminder that we all have a role to play and every contribution counts.